Hello BookTube, and happy Memorial Day if you are in the United States. The results for the quarterfinals of the BookTube Prize were announced today. I was a judge for Group A in the Nonfiction division, and here are my rankings and mini reviews. On the whole, my top three did advance. But I did have an incredibly hard group for me to judge. I honestly did not particularly care for any of the books except for my top two. And I'll kind of explain why as I get into the reviews. So if you are particularly fond of any of these books, sorry, but they just didn't work for me. So coming in at number 6 is Minor Feelings by Cathy. This is her memoir meditation on racism, her own encounters with racism, both external and internal, particularly targeted against Asians and Asian Americans. And I just did not get on with this book at all. I thought the writing was not good. Coming in at number 5 is Fevers, Feuds, and Diamonds by Paul Farmer. This is his memoir, his life combating the Ebola epidemics in East Africa, and how the history of the region, particularly rooted in colonialism, has made the fight against Ebola much more difficult. The book has its moments of being really good and interesting, but it's also repetitive and could have used a tighter editorial leash. Certainly could have used about 200 pages lopped off to make it a much more tight and focused book. Coming in at number 4 is The Next Great Migration by Sonia Shah. This is her book about how climate change will force the largest migration in history for both humans, non-human animals, and plant species, or terrestrial plant species, as climate change will render parts of Earth increasingly uninhabitable for the species that have hitherto lived there. I mean, we're already seeing it. Animals are migrating and plants are migrating north, where the temperatures are increasingly amenable to them, whereas where they originally were are no longer so. And had the book really maintained sort of this focus, and also the knocking down sort of a lot of the lies told about the social dangers of migration and immigration and refugees, I would have loved this book. I loved the first few chapters of the book. But then the turn went from looking at how climate change is going to affect and cause this massive migration crisis, to the history of how scientists recognized migration as being a part of nature, that many animal species migrate yearly, that humans have migrated throughout our history, and how sort of this realization was kind of contrasted, conflicted, suppressed by scientists who believed that basically where animals are found now is where they've always been, and how this sort of intransigence, this sort of non-migration sort of narrative ties into scientific racism and the development of scientific racism throughout the 17th, 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries. And I just thought this radical shift just should have been its own book. So coming in at number 3 is Hidden Valley Road by Robert Kolker, and my criticisms from the octafinals still stand. This is the story of the Galvin family, of the 12 children, 6 of the 10 sons developed schizophrenia or some kind of similar mental illness. Why? I still am not. Excuse me. The splitting of this narrative from between the Galvin family story and how scientists sort of identified schizophrenia and how the approach to schizophrenia, the treatment, the understanding of schizophrenia changed over the decades. I didn't like it. I mean, the schizophrenia chapters should have been an introductory essay, should have been a supplemental essay at the end of the book, could have been its own book. It kind of took too much away from the central narrative of the Galvin family. So coming in at number 2 is The Address Book by Dierdre Mask. This is about addresses and how addresses tell us about ourselves, and also how addresses are affected and affect both class and race. And I quite like this book. It has some really fun moments. It's also a bit repetitive at times, and occasionally I'm thinking the sources she's citing, the scientists, the historians that she consults for this book, their work might actually be a bit more interesting than the Address Book. But on the whole, I did really enjoy this book. So that leaves number 1, and by far the best book in this group, Head & Shoulders, by a mile, is The Dierdre Rising by Les Payne with Tamara Payne. This will be the definitive Malcolm X biography, I would think. It is so researched, so in-depth, so warts and all, that it's an amazing achievement. So it's definitely one that I think will continue to go far in the BookTube prize, and I just enjoyed reading it immensely. Probably out of all of the books I've read from the first 2 rounds, this is the one that I really, really liked, and I'm looking forward to reading it again at some point. So anyway, BookTube, that was my reaction to the quarterfinal results of Group A for the BookTube prize. And yeah, so tomorrow I will do the C book tag. Then Wednesday I'll probably have a manga video up, because I'm still debating whether or not I really should start to recollect manga or just figure out some other way to get manga or to read it. And then Thursday will be another tag video, and then Friday will be weekly reads. And again, if this video is a bit down, or is a bit of a downer, I'm a bit sorry, but this year's BookTube prize, I haven't necessarily been enjoying reading the books that I've been assigned to judge. And I mean, and this year in general, so far I've had a pretty poor reading year. I mean, there are maybe, and I'll talk a bit more about this probably at the end of June, or if there's a half-year wrap-up book tag that comes up for then. I think there is one, but I don't know if I have to go hunt it back down or if somebody will start doing them and how that's going to work. But so far, one of the, I think, me not having particularly good reading year so far has been that I just haven't gotten on with many of the books for the BookTube prize that I've been assigned. So anyway, I'm not going to be judging this round, and I'm probably not going to be judging the finals. So maybe if I can, like, that'll probably maybe help me find some books that I'm more interested in reading. And anyway, so I'm starting to ramble. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it for now and see you tomorrow with the C tag. So until then, BookTube, thank you. Have a great afternoon and the rest of your Memorial Day if you are American. And I will see you tomorrow. Until then, thank you and stay safe.